Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Arbitrary 20. In this video we're going to be making a build I'm calling the Ethereal Guardian. Like many tank builds, it's going to apply a taunt when you hit an enemy, giving them disadvantage to attack anyone but you. But we'll have spells like Mirror Image, Blink, and Greater Invisibility, making it harder for them to hit us as well. So overall this should make our party a lot more resilient. Let's go ahead and get started with the race. The race doesn't matter a whole lot for this build. I would just go with something like Hill Dwarf or Goliath to increase our character's overall durability. I'm going to be assuming a +1/+2 for our ability scores though. And speaking of our ability scores, if you're doing point buy, we'll have a strength of 9, a dexterity of 8, a constitution of 14, an intelligence of 15 +2 from our race for a total of 17, a wisdom of 9, and a charisma of 15 +1 from our race for a total of 16. And if you're rolling for ability scores, I would prioritize intelligence first, charisma second, and constitution third. And for our ideal equipment, we'll want plate armor, a shield, and an arcane focus. I know you probably won't be able to get that plate armor right away, but just start with the best heavy armor you can and work up to the plate. And then on to levels 1 through 5, we're going to be starting off with 5 levels of Artificer. In terms of spells, I would pick up Guidance and Firebolt for our cantrips, Guidance being a nice boost to our ability checks, and Firebolt being an okay damage option if we get stuck at range, and it's also one of the few spells that can damage objects. And then for first level spells, I would pick up Cure Wounds, Fairy Fire, and Longstrider. Cure Wounds being there if you need to heal one of your allies in a pinch, Fairy Fire giving you and all of your allies advantage on your attacks, and then the speed increase from Longstrider will be nice to get you into melee, especially if you went Hill Dwarf. And then for second level spells, I'd pick up Aid and Web. Aid is a great choice because it increases current and maximum hit points. You can use this as a healing spell in combat and it'll still have a lasting benefit for the next 8 hours. And then Web is probably the best second level control spell in the game, so always a good pickup. And then for our infusions, my top 2 picks are probably Enhanced Defense and Mind Sharpener. Enhanced Defense giving us a boost to our AC, and then Mind Sharpener helping us succeed those concentration checks. And then for our Artificer Specialist, we are going Armorer. From our Armorer spell list, we're going to get Mirror Image, which is one of the spells I talked about from the intro. We'll be using spells like this to increase our durability while enemies are taunted to attack us. Speaking of, we're going to be going with the Guardian Armor model, and the Thunder Gauntlets are how we get this taunt. Whenever we hit with the Thunder Gauntlets, that creature has disadvantage to attack anyone but us until the start of our next turn. And then lastly, we'll get Arcane Armor, which is really nice because it lets us use heavy armor without needing the strength requirement. And then for the ASI or feat we get at Artificer 4, I would go with Fey Touched, taking a +1 to intelligence, which will increase our chance to hit and our damage with the Thunder Gauntlets. And then some good first level spells you could take with Fey Touched are Bless, Command, Silvery Barbs, and Gift of Alacrity. Those last 2 are my personal favorites, but any of the 4 would be good. And then lastly, we'll get Extra Attack. And now onto levels 6 through 12, we're going to be taking 7 levels of Sorcerer here. For our Sorceress Origin, we're going to be going with Clockwork Soul. Gives us a couple of ways to increase our defenses, restore balance in a pinch. Maybe if you're out of spell slots, this could be used to remove advantage and reduce your chance to be hit. Then we'll also get Bastion of Law. We can spend sorcery points to get a pool of d8s that we can use to subtract damage. It is fairly expensive, so I wouldn't use it on super long adventuring days, but it is nice to have. Then we'll also get Clockwork Spells. I'm not going to mention anything specific here, but any of the spells I mention in the future that are Abjuration or Transmutation, you could take as Clockwork Spells instead. And for first level spells, we're going to take Shield and Absorb Elements, both being really great defensive options. And then for second level spells, I would take Rhymes Binding Ice, a nice damage and control option in one. And then for third level spells, we'll pick up Blink and Hypnotic Pattern. Blink being one of the main parts of the build. You can apply the taunt to one of your enemies, and then if you roll an 11 or higher, you teleport to the ethereal plane until the start of your next turn. This will make it so you're not there to attack, and they still have disadvantage to attack the rest of your party. I know there is an element of luck involved here, but theoretically you should be gone about half the time. And then Hypnotic Pattern is just one of the best control spells in the game. Another great use for our concentration. And then for fourth level spells, we'll be going with Greater Invisibility and Polymorph. Polymorph, just a great tanking spell overall to turn yourself or an ally into a giant ape and get 150 more hit points. And Greater Invisibility goes along with Mirror Image and Blink. It makes us a lot more difficult to hit, but we're still able to apply our taunt. And one thing I did want to make a note of here is that Blink still does have uses even after we get Greater Invisibility, especially against creatures that have Blind Sight or True Sight who could still see us while we're invisible. Blink will still work against creatures like that and will likely be a better choice. Blink also doesn't require concentration if you want to have a control spell like Hypnotic Pattern or Web up, and then obviously we'll have to be using Blink or Mirror Image or something like that if we run out of 4th level or higher spell slots. And then we'll get Font of Magic, giving us sorcery points and meta magic. The most important meta magic is Quicken Spell. This will allow us to attack and cast Blink, Mirror Image, or Hypnotic Pattern all in the same turn. Extended Spell could also be good to potentially set up something like Blink or Mirror Image before a combat. And then for our ASI or feat at Sorcerer 4, we'll be taking Resilient Wisdom. This will get our Wisdom up to a +0 and shore up our defenses. And then at level 13, we'll be going back to Artificer for 1 level to get an additional infusion. We'll be going with Repulsion Shield. This is good to keep enemies off of you, and it'll give us an additional +1 to our AC. You could take this before taking Sorcerer levels, but I just wanted to get to Blink and Greater Invisibility as soon as possible. And then lastly, for levels 14 through 20, we're going to be taking 7 levels of Warlock. For our Otherworldly Patron, we're going to be going with Archfey. The main thing we're here for is Misty Escape. This is another ability to make us invisible and avoid taking damage once per short rest. And then for spells, pick whichever additional spells you'd like. The main reason we're here is to get spell slots back on a short rest so we can cast our spells more often and replenish our sorcery points. And then for our last ability score increase or feat, I would just take a +2 to Intelligence or Charisma. It just depends on whether you want to focus more on landing your Taunt and your Artificer spells or instead on your Sorcerer or Warlock spells. But that's all I have for this build. If you guys would like to watch my last build guide, which is a bit of a duelist character that goes in and out of melee, locking enemies down in a single spot, you can check that out right here. Either way, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.